Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. A big day for the Northeast today as results were declared for three states, Tripura, Nagaland and Meghalaya, that went to polls recently. The BJP has managed to make major inroads into these northeastern states. The Bharatiya Janata Party won the Red Fort in Tripura, putting an end to the 25-year-long run of the left front. In Nagaland, the BJP and its ally, the Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party, seems set to form the government with the alliance just above the halfway mark. In Meghalaya, the picture is not that clear, though the ruling Congress has emerged as the single largest party ahead of the NPP and its ally, the BJP. With the constituency level margins still thin across the region, the picture could change. On this edition of The Big Picture, we'll analyze the results of the three northeastern states and what the results mean for the upcoming assembly elections and general elections next year. Joining me on the program today are Balmiki Prasad Singh, former governor of Sikkim and former Union Home Secretary, Deepk Dewan, senior journalist, and we are also joined by Amit Malvi of the BJP. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Amit Malvi, I'd like to start with you, of course, and firstly, congratulations on a fine performance in the Northeast, winning the Red Bastion in Tripura, doing well in Nagaland and also faring reasonably well in Meghalaya, though the results wouldn't have probably been to the liking as far as the BJP is concerned. But after a 25-year, left front rule in Tripura, you managed to come to power in that particular state. Was it a victory by default for the BJP in Tripura?
Thank you so much. We are absolutely delighted at the wins that we've had in Northeast, particularly Tripura and Nagaland, as you've just outlined. The win in Tripura is indeed sweet because we have dislodged the left that had been ruling the state for about 25 years, and it was widely believed that it was a fortress of the left and it was almost impossible to dislodge them. But we are quite happy at the way the whole results have panned out for us. And this is not a win that has happened for us overnight. The party has really worked very hard over the last 2 years. In 2013, we had less than 2% vote share. Now we have over 50% vote share. And mind you, in 2014, when there was a big wave in favor of the BJP, even then Tripura had voted for the two left MPs and the BJP had not been able to lead in any of the segments even then. From then and to now, we've come a long way, and I think that's been a result of Prime Minister Modi's governance, the kind of development that Northeast has seen over the last 4 years, and the hope that the BJP could turn around their fortunes there as well. And the lackadaisical performance of Manik Sarkar government, the kind of despondency we saw there, the squalid poverty that the state is reeling under, all of these obviously added to this turn of events there. But in all, it's a great win for us. We are absolutely thrilled and we thank the people of Northeast for giving us such a strong mandate there.
All right, let me bring in Mr. Balmiki Singh now. What are the factors that have led to this upsurge or rise of the BJP in the Northeast?
I must tell you that, let me first join you in congratulating very warmly the BJP for doing so well. But at the same time, I would also like to mention to you that this is also an occasion to compliment Manik Sarkar and his colleagues, because they have provided political stability to Tripura. They also have done extremely well on education, school education front. CPM by and large in West Bengal and also in Tripura has not been able to fight poverty. I don't know the factors. And so this was a big lacuna. And BJP, which has a credible background of creating service to the Adivasis and also to Hindu masses, was the natural choice, because this is a state which has the tribal population and also the Hindu population. And this is a region which historically knew Rama and Mahabharata tradition. And we had the royalty And earlier the Congress used to do that. And I'm very, very hopeful that BJP will provide a very stable and progressive state. There are challenges of governance in Tripura. And when that question comes, I will give you my views. But
Sure.
I'm quite happy with this result.
Sure. What does this mean, Deepak Dewan, for, Mr. Singh spoke about the Congress. The Congress, was a big force in Tripura a few decades ago, and also it was the major opposition party in the state. What has happened to the Congress, really? Even in Nagaland, it seems to have been wiped out. It seems to be wiped out in Tripura as well. 0 seats this time around in Tripura.
Well, if you look at Tripura, Congress was there for the namesake as opposition party. They never played the role of any, even they did not even raise the issues in the assembly. Forget about the parliament, where they have sizable number of, MPs from different state. Party has sizable numbers of MPs here in the Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. They never raised the issues which BJP made election planks. See, the issues were like, it's a 36 lakh population total in Tripura, out of which 25 lakhs are the voters, out of which the 7 lakh youth are uneducated. Mr. BP Singh mentioned about the good education they introduced in the schools and all that, but they also produce unemployed youth. They had no venues. They did not create jobs. Even the government jobs were lying vacant. If you remember the Prime Minister when he went during electioneering there, and he spoke about it. He said, at least the government should fill up the government vacancies which are lying vacant. No, that was not done. And other thing is, they created their own image as a poor government of a poor state. The fact is that a lot of funds were given by the center. It did not change the basic structure or infrastructure in the state. It remained the same. Then if you claim that you are a clean government, you are a honest government, how do you justify the Rose Valley Chit Fund scam, which took away the savings of 14 lakh people in Tripura? That also became the issue in the election. BJP raised that. And then BJP promised 7th pay commission. Tripura is still paying 4th.
Yes.
And they announced that after the formation of the government, within fortnight, we will announce 7th pay commission. I think people are looking forward to that. And because, mind it, there are 1,50,000 government employees and plus 60,000 pensioners. So 2 lakh families straight away get affected with this. So people were looking for a change.
So
and the
hopes have been raised is what you're saying.
Yes, and then the same government, clean, honest government, so-called clean government, they had appointed more than 10,000 teachers which were branded as irregular appointment by the High Court, Tripura High Court. That case is still going on. And the political stability did not bring any prosperity in the state. Stability was there because there was no opposition. Congress was nowhere. So Congress is sort of, BJP should say thanks to Congress. They have given them the Tripura on platter.
Okay. All right. Let me go across to Amit Malvi now. In your opening remarks, Amit, you spoke about, the hope of the people there going up. This brings me to my next question. That's something that that Deepak Dewan also was talking about in his statement just now. Clearly the expectations of the people of the Northeast are sky high at this point in time. Will you be able to meet the aspirations of the people?
Most certainly, because if you look at the Northeast, you have Assam, you have Manipur, you have Arunachal, which are currently being governed by the BJP, and the visible difference in what's happening on the ground is there for everybody to see. In fact, a lot of people through the day have been asking us that how are we going to manage the secessionist forces in these states, and I point to them the example of Manipur, which has seen really no blockade ever since there has been a BJP government in the state. And let me just share an anecdotal evidence that happened while we were campaigning in Meghalaya. On the way to Shillong, our taxi drivers remarked that, ever since the BJP, that is the BJP in the center has been there, the economic blockades in the whole of Northeast have reduced to zero, which means that there is that much more business, that there is that much more avenues for people to transact, to trade, to indulge in commerce, which has in a way improved the lives of the people there. Now, coming to Tripura, we've been hearing about these stories about how Mr. Sarkar ran a very benevolent government and how it was perhaps one of the best things that happened to the state of Tripura. A lot was said on the personal probity of Mr. Manik Sarkar. But if you go to the state, you will find a completely different story. You would find that the aspiration of the average individual in Tripura is to get a ration card. 60% of the population in the state survives and hopes to get a dole from the state. Now, that's really what the young of Tripura don't want. They want jobs, they want opportunities, they want the vast natural resources of Tripura to be used to create employment, to create wealth for them, to create prosperity for them, and that was something that the left government continuously failed to do. And I think in the BJP, they see the promise of a government that is progressive, that would deliver on all these crowns and overall improve the lives of the people. And I think we are reasonably confident that as we have been performing well in states like Assam and Manipur and Arunachal, we will continue to bring the model of good governance in Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura as well.
Okay, Mr. Singh, the BJP in almost 6 states in the Northeast now. What is the biggest challenge really for the BJP going forward?
I must give you 2 comments about Tripura. I don't know who is going to be the next chief minister. This should be decided within a day or 2.
But Biplab Dev seems to be the front runner as of now.
Yes.
But it remains, of course, it's the parliamentary board to take the discussion finally, yes.
What I want the Honorable Chief Minister to do in particular, he must go for 2 things. First is he must go for a skill development center on the pattern of what we have seen in Singapore, and it is possible to have that relationship. The second thing that has to be done, let Tripura make an experiment, because Nehu is there, university is there in Meghalaya, Guwahati has a number of universities, Assam has a number of universities. What I want is that a modern university city on the pattern of what the Western countries have should be set up. It may take 4 or 5 years on the outskirts of Agartala, because it is necessary for the youth. Their aspirations have to be raised further. I know the unemployment, I know the unemployability, and that's why I suggested the skill development. But coming to the BJP in the Northeast, I think it's quite natural. I have served Assam for long, undivided Assam, and I have watched the scene as Union Home Secretary. What I have noticed there is that democracy is taking rapidly firm roots, and constitutionalism is now accepted. But even now, religion and ethnicity continue to play a big role. So what is necessary is that the youth of the Northeast, who are otherwise very able, very sharp, and you see them in various cities of India, Bangalore, Calcutta, Guwahati, also Delhi,
yes,
Mumbai. So they have to be further empowered, because Tripura is not represented in that. Manipur is, Meghalaya, this Khashi Hills is, but not Garo Hills, not Jaintia Hills. Nagaland is represented, Mizoram is represented, but not Arunachal. Mizoram is represented. So you have a challenge of, inclusion of different parts of people of the Northeast. And I am quite happy that a center...
Will that process now be easier because you have the same government
Yes.
at the center and in the states, in the Northeast?
You know, I must tell you this story, since I think your representative from the BJP narrated a story. I will narrate a story to you. You know, in 1969, when the Congress got a split, the Chief Minister of Undivided Assam was Prasad Chalia. And I was a young officer, but I had free access to the Chief Minister. He was very fond of me. I was Joint Secretary appointment, and I was reporting directly to Chief Secretary and to the Chief Minister. So I asked him one of those days. He was a very reserved man, and I was with the Chief Secretary. I foolishly, but I have been a student of political science, I indulge in some of those things. I said, you were in Congress, so why have you become Congressar? He said, because Assam in the Northeast needs to be governed by the same party, which is ruling in the center. There are so many security issues, insurgency issues, and of course development issues. But today the most important issue is social harmony. The most important issue is the aspirations of the youth have to be met.
Indeed. All right. We are now joined by Dr. Jayakumar, Secretary in charge of Nagaland Congress. Dr. Jayakumar, you know, as far as the Congress is concerned, it seems to be a party that is on the decline across the country, and today's results also point in that particular direction. What's going wrong for the grand old party of India? I don't know if Dr. Jayakumar... Yeah, okay, go ahead.
See, as far as... yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Is the audio is okay? Yeah. As far as Meghalaya is concerned, our performance is not bad. Perhaps Mukul Sangma may be the only chief minister who has completed his full term and gave a very stable government. Despite some MLAs were going away, he was able to give the government, and government could not be toppled with whatever the forces that tried to topple him. And we are still hopeful of forming the government over there, because our Congress party is the single largest party in Meghalaya. And therefore, we are not far away from power or forming the government.
Sure. You know, Dr. Jayakumar, you are the single largest party in Meghalaya at this point in time, but you are also the single largest party in Goa, and we all know what happened there, what went wrong for the Congress party. You know, what's to say that a similar repeat of Goa might not happen in Meghalaya?
Exactly, I want to say that. We don't want to repeat that what had happened in Goa and what had happened in Manipur. And that is why we are cautious enough that our senior leaders are there not to let the situation slip from our hands. Coming to Tripura, where we were not in power for the last 15 years there, therefore you cannot say right away when our UPA 1, UPA 2 were ruling the country, we were in government at center, still we were unable to make our government in Tripura. Last time we had about 38% of votes approximately, and we secured 10 seats. But this time that is not there, because BJP had come in over there with much more force. And the anti-incumbency of the Communist Party over there and the neglect of the tribal people in the tribal area, given a chance...
But you know, Dr. Jayakumar, even you should have made use of the anti-incumbency. The Congress hasn't even opened its account in Tripura. What went wrong for you there?
I think you are preempting me. I am coming to that.
Okay, go ahead.
We should have taken this opportunity over there. But either you call it in Nagaland or in Tripura, the people who got elected now, minimum 70% are Congress previous leaders, former leaders of the Congress. Whether you take Balmiki over there or you take the other important leaders, they are all congressmen over there.
Sure.
But during the last phase of election about 6 months or 7 months ago, these leaders were tipped by the BJP party, lured by the BJP party, given various assurances, personal assurances for them.
You know,
and they left the
Dr.
party
Jayakumar, you can't fault the BJP for that. It is for the Congress to keep its flock together. Probably the leaders see the Congress as a sinking ship and they are abandoning it. It has happened in the past as well. You know, it is for the Congress party to introspect and keep the party flock together. We'll talk about that as well ahead.
I would like to ask Mr. Jayakumar. Mr. Jayakumar, your party failed to keep its 8 MLAs in the party 3 years ago in Nagaland. They all left you and joined NPF along with the office bearers. Mr. Narayan Swamy in Delhi, who was in charge of Northeast, he kept on sending the reminders, this and that, you know, you cannot be part of the government which has a BJP as a constituent. But they did not listen to you. They did not listen to any high command or low command. But they went ahead and today they are enjoying the minister's post in the government.
Okay. Dr. Jayakumar, that is Deepk Dewan, senior journalist, asking you that question. You can respond to it.
Yes. Yeah, I am exactly. What he said is exactly correct. Our MLAs were lured to come to the power and they were promised several things. That is why they left the party and gone over there. And what else you call it? How can Congress is expected to be a part of the government where BJP was already sitting over there?
And among those, hold
on. Let me bring in Amit Malvi now into the picture. We've spoken to Dr. Jayakumar, heard his views about what's happening in the Northeast. You know, Amit Malvi, how does the victory or the fine performance of the BJP in the Northeast fit into the scheme of things, you know, the central government's plans for the Northeast and beyond? By beyond, I mean the Act East policy and other such policies.
You know, first of all, if I can just quickly respond to what the Congress spokesperson said. He has basically admitted that their people are up for grabs and they would switch sides for some kind of allurement. Is that how they regard their own colleagues, who they think will flip for some kind of allurement? I mean, if this is the kind of attitude and approach you have towards your own colleague, I'm not surprised they're all leaving you and joining the BJP. So the Congress must introspect instead of accusing the BJP of winning elections after elections. Secondly, if I can just speak about the Act East policy of Prime Minister Modi's government. When in 2014 Prime Minister Modi took office, he was very clear. He said that while the western side of the country has developed relatively more than the eastern side, it is important to develop the region because it opens up to South Asia, to Southeast Asia, and that's where the future lies. That's where the next decade is going to be focusing on. And every policy of his government had Northeast and East in general as its focus area. So whether you look at states like Orissa or you look at West Bengal or for that matter Northeast, there has been undivided attention from the Modi government for these regions. And we are seeing today that several infrastructure projects that were hanging fire for many years have now suddenly found pace. They are being worked on, they are being delivered, and the people of Northeast are realizing this.
Okay.
Whether you look at Assam or you even for that matter look at Tripura.
Sure.
If you drive in the interiors of Tripura,
I'm sorry to cut you short, Amit Malvi. I've got limited time on the program, so I'd like to bring in the other guests as well into the picture because there's so much to talk about. You know, Mr. Singh, how do today's results fit into the scheme of things when we look at the other General Assembly elections coming up in 2018 and the big one in 2019, which is the general election?
I must first add on the lookist policy. You know, we must appreciate that Northeast is not only strategically important for us, but this is the only place that we have a land connection, land route going to, you know, from there to Myanmar and beyond to the ASEAN countries. Otherwise, we are, you know, we have only the sea outlet. We are landlocked virtually. So this is very important. Lookist policy is a very, very important thing, and we have to implement it. The second thing I must also say, you know, victory of BJP is a repeat. Congressmen and women formed another party and ousted CPM in West Bengal, and the process continues. Congressmen, and I don't know about women in Tripura, they joined BJP and ousted CPM from Tripura. So this is happening. The congressmen are doing well, but Congress party is not doing well.
Okay.
Now coming to your 18 and 19, you know, the lessons will have to be drawn by political parties and their leaders. So far as we are concerned, we are interested in the people of India voting leaders who have compassion, who have the zeal to serve the youth of India and the marginalized sections of the society.
Sure, sure. Deepak Dewan, what bearings will these elections have on 2018
first
and 19?
First of all, like Tripura result is a shock to the left front, and it has also sent tremors to Mamata Banerjee, because the BJP is going to take on Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal. We have elections in Odisha, Karnataka, and probably
Madhya
one more
Pradesh,
state.
Chhattisgarh,
So I think
states,
this will have very good sort of impact on the other states.
Sure. Dr. Jayakumar, a quick closing comment from you. What are the lessons, what are your takeaways from today's results?
No, the gentleman spoke earlier, mentioned about the Northeast policy of Narendra Modi and various infrastructure schemes that he has announced over there, and people are realizing it over. I would like to react to this by saying all these are only announcements. Mr. Modi went to Tiansong on February 22nd, and he has promised 10,000 crores for road projects and 400 crores for healthcare scheme and 160 crores for housing.
You know, Dr. Jayakumar, you've not answered my question. My question was, of course, what are the lessons for the Congress party? Because it's time for the Congress to introspect today. Because if you don't, then it's going to be a tough road to recovery in the future.
No, let me react to your point that what Narendra Modi has announced and what he has done. What he has done, this is yet another election jumla.
Okay, all right. On that note, then we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. I did not get my answer there as far as what the road, what's in store for the Congress party in the near future. I'd like to thank all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. A big day for the Northeast, a celebratory day for the BJP, making inroads and how in the Northeast. And of course, it remains to be seen whether the BJP can meet the aspirations and expectations of the people of the Northeast. Of course, the future will tell us if that will happen or not. That's it from me. See you again next time.